1 and 2 is consumption of a moderate amount of alcohol a day is healthy for the human body. And my opponent's secondary claims were moderate drinking has positive physical benefits, moderate drinking has positive psychological benefits, moderate drinking reduces chances of disease and even death, and moderate drinking poses minimal risk to the human body. My opponent stated that the definition for moderate drinking is about 1 drink for women and about 2 drinks for men, but the difficulty in defining moderate drinking is to some extent a result of individual differences. The amount a person can drink without intoxication may vary according to drinking experience and tolerance, and individual metabolic differences can lead to a wide range of blood alcohol content levels for the same consumption. Thus, definitions solely based on the number of drinks are not the best approach according to the Department of Health and Human Services. In my opponent's speech, his first claim was that moderate drinking has positive physical benefits, but I found otherwise in an article from Oxford Journal on alcohol and consumption. It says that even a small portion of alcohol can have an effect on your decisions and actions depending on the type of person you are and your genetic makeup. When alcohol is consumed, it sends a trigger to the brain's cortex that controls mood and attitude, so it's dependent on the type of person that is consuming the alcohol to see if they will become more relaxed or tense up and become angry. So it's not beneficial to all, but to some. Which leads to my second claim that moderate drinking can be psychologically beneficial to only some people, not all. For some, drinking moderately can decrease anxiety and improve your mood, but it is solely dependent on the person who is drinking and their genetic makeup and lifestyle. It is not recommended for those who are depressed, suicidal, angry, and or lonely, because it can deepen these emotions, and those people can resort to verbal or physical aggressiveness and even violence. Moderate drinking is especially harmful to those who have mental health problems that are aggravated by alcohol, have a susceptibility to addiction, and have had a history of abuse and addiction problems with alcohol in the past. My opponent claimed that moderate drinking reduces the chance of disease and even death, but in a study led by researchers from the University of Victoria in British Columbia, they claimed that the majority of studies suggesting that moderate drinking helps prevent heart disease may be flawed. Because in most of the studies that they researched, they found 7 out of 10 studies that were flawed due to the fact that they included abstainers as people who had cut down on drinking due to various reasons, such as old age. The results of the 7 studies showed no reduction in risk of death among the moderate drinkers compared with abstainers. The worldwide belief that drinking moderately will protect you against coronary heart disease is cautioned in this study when recommending it to abstainers because the results may seem more apparent than real, and that the results on the prevention or that drinking will make you live a longer life are exaggerated. They also noticed that as people got older, they reduced their alcohol intake, and that the actual reduction of the consumption of alcohol could have been the reason for the sign of their good health. They feel there are too many errors in the studies because they don't include many factors like smoking, genetics, daily lifestyle, and diet. The researchers emphasize that there is a need for more well-designed research in the future that assesses people's alcohol intake and abstinence more precisely as their drinking patterns would change with age. My response to the fourth claim that moderate drinking poses minimal risk to the human body. In the state science report on the effects of moderate drinking from the National Institute of Health, they conducted research that led to findings that moderate drinking can pose a threat to humans, mainly focusing on breast cancer and obesity. In this report, it says that studies have shown that only depending on the woman's history of breast cancer and her family of her genetic makeup will determine if moderate consumption can help her. Obesity is another risk that you're facing when drinking alcohol, because the intake of alcohol lowers your energy level, and then depending on your diet and exercise, you can become morbidly obese. In a study defined as 2 drinks per day, the caloric intake was greater than those who did not drink moderately, and after a 5-year follow-up were shown to have an increase in body mass index. So in conclusion, moderate drinking can be beneficial to some people, but it all depends on your background, genetic makeup, and the person's mental stability to see if it can have a positive effect on the person, and it isn't good for all.
All right, Roxanne, I thought that you did a very nice job labeling the claims. On the first point, you've got a good argument about it being a sweeping generalization, basically, that there are exceptions and that we need to pay attention to those things. Before we got to that first point, I even like to challenge on what constitutes a moderate dosage, and you've got a criteria established by Health and Human Safety that suggests that such numerical criteria are perhaps artificial. And then it comes back down to basically context is king, which is the argument that you're making on a lot of these points, and that is that the advocate's making a sweeping generalization, ignoring particular points that could be problematic. For example, the health issues that people might be faced with, their tendencies to consume alcohol, or their mental health problems. If you had some statistics, for instance, about how widespread those kinds of problems were, I think it might have helped undermine that point a little bit more. On the next point, where you were challenging the medical advantages, I thought you did a very good job explaining the problems with the research that was being done, and you focused on two particular issues that suggest that we shouldn't reach conclusions based on this research, and you explained it very clearly. I thought that that was an excellent example of responsiveness to the evidence that or the grounds that the advocate presented. On the last point, we come back to the same kind of issue, that there in fact might be negative consequences, and again, it's context dependent. It's sort of the sweeping generalization argument again, but I did think that you did a nice job finding evidence to support that point as well. You do have a tendency to read a little bit, and you're plowing through it like you're in a rush to get done, so I think you want to talk to the audience a little bit more to build your credibility. This will be one of those things that happens more, I think, in the debates, because people are having, instead of having a script that they're reading and they get into this routine presenting, they have to stop and explain which arguments they're talking about and do the explanation right there, and it'll sound a little bit less like you're just, like I said, plowing through and reading it. All right, thank you.